Take two.
Take two. Yeah, we just recorded a half hour, and we were really in our flow. I was getting so stoned.
It's the best stuff we've ever said. Just trust us.
Our best podcast yet.
For real.
And then out of the corner of my eye, I was like, "Oh, we're not rolling."
Full card. It's gonna happen once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're not that profesh.
No.
We're enthusiast level at podcasting, not profesh.
Definitely.
Profesh, I think, would imply like there's a producer here, we're getting paid for this, things are coming out consistently or whatever.
We'd consider editing it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not that. It's an outlet for us. But man, we were saying some good shit. You had me thinking about my life and my midlife crisis and fucking... I'm not even in a midlife crisis. It's just funny to act like...
Well, why were you saying you think you're in if this was a moment of a midlife crisis?
Just because I don't have my own spot right now. And
Most people in midlife crisis, they buy a red Lamborghini.
Yeah, and I could go do that, but I'm just like, let's just save the money we have, and like, I just want to see what I'm motivated by, you know, because I feel like the first half of my life and the first half of our career was motivated by being young and being ambitious and fucking a little spite towards the world and the system and my sister passing away and like all this stuff, and I understood what my motivations were and what they were all about, and they took me a long way. And now I'm like, okay, I'm embracing a childless future. I'm wrapping my head around some bigger things. Like, okay, what is the rest of my life going to look like? What's it going to feel like? Am I going to be a nerd?
I'm kind of surprised you think about that, because I think about that too. I mean, I know we talk about kids and how we're happy we don't have them and stuff.
Very happy we don't have kids.
But I think, like you say, in a childless future, that's something that comes to I love my mom. And my dad more than anything in the entire world. And the way we're being there for your parents as they get a little bit older, like we're gonna be there for my parents, and then thinking like, ooh, maybe. Yeah. And it kind of like made me hack my thinking, because I was like, okay, my mom and dad gave me so much love, and that's why I'm gonna show up for them. I mean, because I love them, but it's kind of this thing, this exchange. So I'm kind of like, all right, that's an investment. And you can do that without kids. You can invest in your community. You can invest in new relationships. You can invest in... I'm just like trying to be... How do I just be fun and cute enough old lady that someone wants to like hang out next to me on my deathbed, you know? I'm hoping that we can stay healthy though and take care of each other till the end.
Yeah. That's the idea. That's the plan right now.
Yeah.
But I guess I would rather have a childless future than a futureless child when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And that's me being as like the selfish me is like, fucking in the next few years, shit out a child, make it everyone else's problem, make it my parents' problem, make it my sister's problem, anyone that will watch the fucking kid, your mom's problem.
Well, they've all said
put a financial burden on everyone in our life, make everyone feel bad for us, be begging for money on this fucking thing, you know what I mean? Like, or I could say, like, the best thing for the planet would be, like...
and for your life.
And for my life, really.
Yeah,
and for my freedom and the things that I'm used to and the things I really dig. And
bringing in a child into this world, if you have the wherewithal to care about them having a good education and interfacing this world in a way that's more aware, that is a beautiful thing and a beautiful service.
Yeah.
And I think the people who like to do it should do it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But it's like the full-time project of all full-time projects. I mean, look at me right now. I'm 41. I'm relying on my parents.
Yeah, they never move.
It's really a full-time fucking thing for as long as you're alive or the kid's alive. It really is. It requires your full engagement. It requires a complete, if you're going to do it good, a complete derailment from whatever you thought your concerns were to this thing, I
think it's kind of funny that we're living here now, because at times, most of our time living in the city, there was like this feeling of like very splintered. Like there's a part of
Yeah.
our world that could use more of our attention. And we'd come up here like frequently, but not in the way that maybe we could be as helpful as we are being now with like meals and support and that sort of stuff. So there's something really beautiful about finding this balance. Like this feels like a necessary like recalibration of balance. Like we're
Yeah.
almost making up for the last however many years we were a little more MIA and being like, okay, here's concentrated time where we're here,
Yeah.
and then there'll be like a balance, and we'll try to be a little more uh, mindful about like, okay, let's not be too far, that sort of
I
stuff.
mean, it would haunt me because we had the best life of our lives down in the city. We partied it up. I partied for fucking 18 years, like straight up, going crazy down there. The party don't stop.
I was about to say,
But we're in a different location now. But it would haunt me that it always felt like I was ignoring my duties, and it'd be a whole different situation if it was just normal family. My parents were empty nesters. I don't think I would see them more than once a month, if that, you know. But I got my sister here who has epilepsy, who's 35 years old, who needs all of her needs tended to 24/7.
yeah, full time care.
Full-time care. My parents are like, my dad's in his 70s. My mom's getting towards her 70s. She still works full-time. Like, they've needed but have been too afraid to ask for years for a living situation like this, so they can enjoy their lives. So, you know, in a way, it's selfish for me to be like, let me go off and have my life. That's what they wanted for me, and I built something beautiful. But this is what they need, truly. And if it wasn't for all the pressures of the capitalist world on us, I think more people would be living like this, you know, intergenerational households helping each other out, especially when there's someone with a disability. You really need to rally around that person. You know, Katie doesn't have any friends.
Well, she, in a lot of ways, must have kept your family together. And
She has kept our family together, 100%.
because, I mean, a lot of marriages have a really hard time staying together after the loss of a child.
Yeah, yeah,
And, you know, with everything that your parents have been been through together, not even counting Aaron, like, it's kind of crazy that they've stuck it out together.
yeah.
And I think that, not in a resentful way, but in a beautiful way, Katie's like a backbone of that.
Oh, I've always said that. You know, that always stops my parents in their tracks if they're feeling a little whatever, you know, which happens. But I'll say to them, like, Katie's kept our family together. I don't think. I mean, we just had such a fucked up childhood with my dad's drug abuse. It wasn't like fucked up 24/7 type of thing, but it was scary, volatile, anxiety ridden, you know. But a good family, good-hearted people. Fucking some good Irish Catholics.
Yeah.
What the fuck? We're just out here doing. My dad's having a hard time, and it really caused a lot of strife, and it was tough being the oldest child. I talked about it on another podcast where I just feel like I didn't really like. It's weird. I don't think about it like a childhood, you know. I always think of, you know, I don't know. I was like an adult stuck in a child's body because I had responsibilities that were bigger because I was the oldest and I had three younger sisters and my dad was out of control probably half the time, a third of the time, sometimes three-quarters of the time, and then for a while, 100% of the time. So I don't know. The fact that my mom stuck through with my dad through that says a lot about her character and that they've been able to withstand the Aaron's death, and you know that Katie's just needed 24/7 care since, and that they take that on themselves. It's intense. It's intense. And I remember when I first took mushrooms, the first time I took mushrooms, that was like what was coming down as a download, like be better animals and be better to your family. Like the mushrooms telling me, which is really myself telling me, you know, the blockages went down and I could finally receive the message at 32 years old, like, be close to your family. Your parents aren't always going to be here, you know. We're going to live a good amount of our life after our parents have left this earth. So soak it up while they're here. Try to make amends with them. Try to make good memories. Try to make good relationships. Try to deepen the connection. And for all those reasons, I'm really glad we're back here. And my soul loves it. And I think you were saying that you feel happier here and you're not sure why.
I like myself better.
You like yourself better here.
Yeah.
You spend, I think, partly is because you're in service. You're more accountable.
Yeah.
There's more accountability. We're in a house with 5 people. We're all relying on your food.
Not all the time, but
Not
yeah,
all the time, but
yeah.
most meals, like
Yeah.
you're preparing and putting out. So I think that's automatically going to fill your cup because you're in service. But then there's also that accountability because the vibe can change like that around here, and it does. And you're really good about having a consistent vibe and one that can be relied on.
I try. I'm not like I definitely lose my cool. Like not in, probably comparatively not as much, but there's times where, I've been known to slam a door in your face or something.
Yeah, but not as much since we're up here.
Well, what am I going to do? I'm not even in our apartment.
You're accountable.
Yeah, I'm
There's more
accountable.
people around, you know.
And so are you. Like
So
we're
you have to be more considerate over what you're blasting out. And
yeah, it
that's
affects more
helped us
people.
both. That's helped us both evolve a little bit.
Yeah, this has been like a great humbling, not in a way of like, oh, we're really down on our luck, but humbling of like, what are our values and kind
Mm.
of appreciating like this new space and territory and
Yeah.
what is life and like, how do I see this space?
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about that because a lot of times, like, how I want to see the space and how I feel like when I'm at my best is when I see the space as like a playground. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in a sandbox and I'm like,
When you see life as that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be more sensitive to that life might not be a playground to everybody.
No, it's a battlefield to at least a lot of men, you know. I feel that. I could tap into that, you know. It's a battlefield, and a lot of them are fighting a losing battle because that's just the way it was rigged. It's just the way it was set
Or
up.
like a war zone. Yeah, exactly. A battlefield. Something where,
A
like,
stage.
a stage where you always feel like you need to perform
Mm-hmm.
in order to feel love or whatever it is. Or you just like performing. There's a
Yeah.
different way. You were saying you like to see life as like a blank canvas, which I really like that, where you always
Yeah.
want to be like making it better and creating and how
Yeah,
can we.
it's just like a big lifelong painting
Mm-hmm.
that you're, you know, the textures and the colors and the brush strokes and the brushes you use and all that stuff. It's like those are your memories and your friends and your family and your art and like your connections. And so, you know, I'm just constantly just the way I think of it at least is I've shown up, I've taken form to be an artist. And that's what life is. It's a blank canvas. Let's decorate it, you know. And every decade's like a layer on there. And then you just kind of like go over the whole thing and then keep going over it and keep going over it and you hopefully make something that is interesting and can be revered and can help other people feel more connected. That's the idea. That's the idea with our individual projects, but with the project of my life, you know, is like showing people an example of, I hope, like more critical thinking about the systems that we're in and more opening the heart space. That's it. Just feels like my two overall overarching metaphors
It's
in my
kind of
life.
interesting how we've seen those like in yourself like interface because you've like definitely had a focus on bringing light to injustice or the way things are broken, but also like that meets your heart space and like loving acceptance and appreciation. So there's like this way that interfaces. It's pretty beautiful and interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, for a lot of my life, I treated life like, oh, I'm in a puzzle and I gotta fucking, excuse my language, but um, I gotta figure it out.
Mm.
There's a problem and I gotta solve it,
Yeah.
or it's a maze and I'm not on the right track, but maybe if I like, which way do I go? Like always not
Yeah.
unsure of whether I'm doing the right thing or not, and that's just one way of like setting the game. Like we're in a game and you just set it to that level and you're
You
like,
set it to like confused student mode.
yeah, where everything's like, oh, I can't
Wait, did
figure it
I
out.
missed my homework. Oh wait. Oh fuck. Wait. Oh.
Oh my god, yeah. Or when I thought like for after doing some of these psychedelic experiences for the first time, thinking that everyone else knew what was going on and I was the only one who didn't.
Yeah. No. I really have seen. I've seen your evolution up close and personal. Like the way it just from you going from a person that's like barely aware of all the stuff that we fucking swim in now to like, come like just I just feel like I saw you poke out of your shell and start to fucking see the world and be like, what the fuck? And you were like scared and finding your footing and like needed help at first, and like now you're a beacon of light for people.
I don't know about that, but I'm
Oh,
not.
you totally are. I don't think you should downplay that. I think that's sending bad signals to our system that we're out of alignment. You help a lot of people. Like
I
I don't think that if there's one thing we could brag about, it's like not that many people listen to this, but we become friends with a lot of them, and a lot of them need help and guidance, and they've helped us, but we've helped them, and you've done a lot of that.
well, I think we're trying to create space for like vulnerable conversations.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of interesting. I feel like our communication has gotten better since we've been up here. I think it's kind of, or not even since we've been up here,
Well, this
but
is the great humbling
yeah.
for me,
Mm-hmm.
for a man. Yours might come in a completely different package, but for me, this is the great humbling.
Right.
And if if having the vulnerable conversation with myself is what you're responding to right now, like that I've been having an internal, more vulnerable, more real, more heavy, more sad conversation with myself, but it's allowed me to show up as less reactive because I've taken off some of the masks that I had to wear living in the city for 18 years and like firing on all cylinders in every part of our career and our love life and everything. It's like now I feel like I can take those masks off, take a good hard look at them, decide if I want to use them again. But the internal vulnerable conversation that I'm having with myself, as set off by the great humbling, uh, has made me, I don't want to say it, but it's probably made me a better man, more fun partner, more easy person to be around.
Yeah.
Still crazy.
You. What do you
No, I am.
mean? Do you feel crazy on the inside?
No, I feel crazy when I'm it's no, the internal conversation is it's you could set your watch to it. It is what it is. It's not mean or inappropriate or anything like that, but I get reactive sometimes. I was fucking yelling at you before, like, you're not getting in a cult. You're not doing this. You're not giving fucking grifters your money. I know they're nice. I know they're sweet people, but you're not, like, that's when I'm like, oh, I'm still crazy, you know? Like, you're like, oh, yeah, no, I get it. And I'm like, I'm going to still keep telling you this for 10 minutes because you don't understand. Are you not understanding? And it's just like my inner child, like, screaming out, like, pay attention to me. Don't neglect me. Don't go off with someone else. Don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But yeah, it's to say, like, look, this humbling is helping my spiritual development, but it's not the completion of it, you know? Feels like a training ground, literally. I do so much training. I've like, because I don't have a city to just walk around and fuck around with people and 10 people a day ringing our bell, coming up and getting high and doing weird shit. I'm just fucking lifting weights and doing my dips and pull-ups and push-ups and just trying to stay focused on what we're good at. And that's a good thing to remind ourselves every now and then. Because doesn't it feel like we were put here, especially when we found each other? That fucking big bang of that meeting was based around filmmaking.
Yeah, definitely.
And our love for it and our love for people. Filmmaking aside, we love people. We need an excuse to get out there and experience more of them because that extends our circle of compassion. So what better way to do it than through art and through the art of documentary, which is having a beautiful moment. It's only existed for 100 years less, you know? Let's fucking make a mark on this thing. Let's show people what it can be. Let's not fucking take the temptation of making formulaic bullshit like what ends up on Netflix, you know? Let's not do that. Let's write our own path, and it's going to be scary. And what's the spell that we cast on our life, our whole, since we've known each other? That we're artists. That comes with a fucking price tag.
It
You
definitely
take
does.
a big bite out of the universe, it does take a big bite out of you. And you got to be prepared for the great humbling to happen every now and then, because it's not just an upward trajectory. Oh, yay, everything's just going to be going great forever. You need moments like this. You need periods of your life that are akin to a forest fire.
Really, is that still the most important thing to me?
Yeah.
To be an artist.
Yeah.
And we look at each other all the time and we're like, living in your parents'
Is it
basement
worth having a childless future
to be artists.
to
We're
be
like,
artists? We're
yeah.
like, yes, every day.
Well, yeah, we're like, because, when you do have a child, you have to take things a little more seriously and have another next level of like
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, because of the system we're in, I think it used to be more of a like, yeah, of course, everyone does that, but it was more of a like, hey, the whole tribe is in on this. Like, we'll all pitch in, and you'll still be yourself. You're not going to have to sacrifice yourself entirely to the marketplace and sell your labor to, for in order
for
to
health
raise this
insurance and to
kid.
make
Yeah,
sure that, yeah.
to make sure that this kid's provided for. You're not going to have to sacrifice your happiness and well-being and your bodily health. Like, how many people just
But I
fucking
think,
give up on the temple because they're just in the gears of this thing, and they give up on their body. They betray it, That's like, those are sacrifices I'm not really willing to make for a little fucker I don't even know yet. Come on. Come on. The movies I know I love. I know I love filmmaking. I know I'm addicted to it. And I know it's evolving. And I know we're going to have to evolve with it. And we can't just keep, making the same stuff and assume people are going to respond the same way. And I love all that. I'm totally down for that, for the art being our babies. And we are birthing children all the fucking time. And I'm totally down for that.
yeah, I think also like people who have kids, there's like a very clear trajectory of like, they get a dog and then they want to spend time with people who have kids, and there's like a way that I feel like I would see the signs if we were headed in that direction. And it's cool.
You see me walking this pug and
I know
having a great time.
it does send off like weird alarm bells in my body where
You're
I'm
like,
like, he's a pug dad.
He's such a cute daddy.
He's such a cute pug dad. You take the dog out, and I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Your responsibility and your love and affection.
I mean, I'm at an age now where I could just say, like, yeah, I have a 21-year-old,
Well, you're also
She's
like,
off at college. She's got a scholarship to Columbia.
you're also in a beautiful position where you probably could have a kid until your 70s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, come on, I'm not looking to do that. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm fine with it. But that's kind of the reckoning that I've been going through with my my eternal dialogue, my internal dialogue.
And your eternal dialogue.
I hope my eternal dialogue isn't like, hey, you want to have kids? You make sure just don't have kids, right? Like, we're not having kids. Like, I hope that's not the eternal dialogue. But yeah, while we're fucking stuck up in suburbia, like, of course it's going to come to the forefront of the conversation. You're in your childbearing years. I'm getting past my fucking having lots of sperm years. Like, yeah, of course you consider those things, but I don't want it to be the eternal dialogue. I do need moments of like, we're good, right? We're cool. You're not like silently suffering,
No, I don't think so.
I love the dramatic pause.
Well, I wanted to really think about it.
Well, it would come out in the wash anyway. We take too much acid. It would come out in the wash. We already did that acid trip.
Yeah.
Should we have a baby? Should we have a baby?
Well,
That's all you could say. Remember that? It was
Well,
like the second or third time we ever took acid.
my life was feeling a little meaningless at the time, and I had just read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and
You're 26 years old. You're like, do we have to have a baby? Should we have a baby? I'm like, oh, no.
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 Yeah. No, Mary's like, you guys talk about this a lot. I'm like, yeah, I don't know why. But
I mean, we're just being honest. We could censor the conversation around her if it makes her uncomfortable, but I'm 13 years older than her, and if she doesn't have this conversation internally or hasn't, or whatever, like, that's good. That's good on her, but it comes up as you get older and all your friends are pairing off and getting married and having dogs and having kids and talking about school districts and driveways and perennials and mortgages and stuff. Like, that's the suburban plight. And like, that's why in a way I tell you all the time, I'm like, I don't know if suburbia is for us. Like, the city fucking drains me in a certain way, but it gives me life in a certain way that this place just can't. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do other than like, should we go shop? Should we go pick up some stuff? Should we run an errand? Like, there's not like, that vibrancy and electricity that the city provides. So yeah, you see how people come up here and just keep up with the Joneses, and that's easy. Like to me that would
I don't
be.
think it's easy. When
I
I
don't
think
think
about
it's
how much
easy.
work it goes into people having a home
No, my
or
sister, her life isn't easier than us in a way,
no
but the
way.
decision making about it was very simple and easy, and it happened from a young age. She's been saying since she was a teenager, I want to have a lot of kids. I'm gonna get married and have a lot of kids. And she was 23 and got married and started having kids at 24 and has 5 kids. I wouldn't be surprised if she'd think about somehow having another, you know? And but I'm not saying her life's easy. It's anything but. It's
We
the
had to
opposite.
drive
Our
the
life is
kids one day
so
and we
much
were
easier.
like, whoa, that's a lot of driving to
Oh,
bring them to
forget about
soccer
it.
and
For one,
dance and
we had to be responsible for 2 out of the 5 for an hour, and we were like, we can't do this because we would have to divide and conquer. We wouldn't be able to spend as much time together. At least that's the way I thought of it. I was like, I like just hanging out with Cass. Like, I don't really need a kid to up this situation. And then everybody's path is different, and like for some people that's like the most fulfilling. That's the reason they took form. I think anyone that has a kid, that is the reason you took form, is to to keep this thing going.
yeah. Well, you're off the hook because your sister had 5. I'm off the hook because my parents were okay with them not even having kids.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. We're not getting pressure from anyone. That's why
no.
it's more of a real conversation. That's why it coming up now is like it's really just based on like the age we're getting to and stuff and the situation we're currently in. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like right now we're working on 3 films that I can like right now we're actively working on 3 films. We have one in post and we have 2 in production. We've never done that before, you know? So in a way we're like we're firing on all cylinders and we're doing better and we're finding more focus and we're having more spaciousness to do more things and sink our teeth into more projects. And I think in that sense being away from the city really helps us. Way less distractions, but when I need the hit of like just compulsive spontaneity, it's hard to find anything like that to do up here. We always end up going to the city. We're in the city every fucking weekend. We're up in Mare shit constantly. Yeah. But it's all it is. It's the great humbling and which is a reckoning, and then I think I've spoken about it before long ago, but I think that leads to the great harmony in your life. And when you catch that wave, surf it for all it's worth, because those are the good times. When it's like, oh wow, this is harmonious. Everything's firing on all cylinders. Because the temptation in those situations, we're so programmed to like be like, okay, what's wrong? What can I work on? What can I improve? And this and that. We're not, but that's why the Church of Chill is like really near and dear to my heart. It doesn't seem like a serious thing, but for anyone that really wants to go deep on it, like it is about like reclaiming the kingdom of enjoyment of your life, not just constantly just like putting logs on the fire and putting just desperately trying to
What I
keep
was
the thing going.
It's funny. I was telling your dad the other day. I was like, you should schedule designated times of the day to worry.
Yeah.
And I was like, I started doing that and it was just so brilliant.
Yeah.
Because I used to think like, oh, I need to worry every minute of every day to get anything done or to do anything right or to not screw something up. Like I need to always be worrying or thinking about how I could mess something up or thinking 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And I think that is valuable if you set space for it. Because if you're always doing it, then you're never in the moment and then life is like a wash.
Well, imagine being 70 years old and someone half your age comes along and they're like, stop worrying so much. And this guy's like, what? I fucking have an epileptic daughter and a wife that's yelling at me all the time every time I fucking make a mistake. And like,
Oh yeah, it's a moot point. It's not
it's
even.
it is. It's a moot point. It really, you're telling yourself that.
Yeah, no, totally.
And I think that's a great little switch up that people can do when they're trying to dole it out. Just be like, oh man, I'm talking to myself right now, aren't I? I need to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
I need to reinforce this narrative in my life, and I'm just catching a reflection from my fucking father-in-law how that can apply better to my life, because I don't want to end up like that. And that's how my dad has taught me the most.
No, totally. You can't be attached, and yeah, I think I went in and through the vortex of thinking I could heal or help people and thinking that I know what's better for people. I have no idea what is like working for other people and why it's working and what's keeping it at all level and all together. And
Yeah.
it's definitely not me to judge, but
That's why I say, like, when I'm at my best, I'm in a place where I'm like, I'm on a tightrope. I'm assuming everyone else is. I don't know how high off the ground that thing is. I don't want to be the one shaking it and throwing them off the fucking thing. Like, I don't need to serve that purpose. And there's been times in our life where that's the only purpose I felt like I served. Is I go around shaking people's tightropes.
you're really good at it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you're like, I'm like fucking hanging out in my playground and you're like, aren't you seeing that you're on a tightrope? And I'm like, oh, I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all bets are off with us. You know.
No, I don't apply.
Yeah. If it, yeah.
We came into this life to give each other a shaking.
Yeah, throw some sass around, you know? Like, to me, it's like, besides Mare, everyone else is really off limits, you know what I mean, in terms of, like, my commentary and stuff. But if we're sharing such an extreme amount of time together.
Well, if you're like, you love me and you want to be around me, this is what works for me. And this is why,
Yeah.
I think that's fair
Yeah.
when in relationship to
Yeah.
be honest with who you are and what you prioritize and why.
Shape up or ship out. No, it's yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just where I'm at, and like I think the people close to me probably understand. I'm at probably the most interesting point I've been in the past 18, 20 years because of what we've been through, and that like that challenges have come along. That it's not just all fucking rainbows and butterflies. That challenges come along, and you have to deal with the shadow, and you have to have many and huge reckonings in your life. And to me, in order to enter the realm of the Church of Chill, I need to go through all that stuff, you know?
I'm just like kind of laughing because I remember that moment that you were like coming down on me and saying, life's not always rainbows and butterflies. And I was like, it is to me,
Yeah,
damn it.
it is to me. But I mean, look, I'm
And
not
I
here
was
to
like,
shake your
I was like,
tightrope.
I was like, my life is going to be rainbows and butterflies. And if you're not hip to it, you have the problem.
I mean, and it's true. It's true. And that's you fighting back, and that's good. That's positive. You know, that's you standing up for something that's near and dear to you, and that's you saying like, stop, don't shake that part of me. Like, don't do that. You know? And I'm like, I get that. Because I do it to you. We do it to each other all the time. We do it to each other all the fucking time. It's just constantly a battle of like, were you being serious? Don't be serious. Come on. Or like, let's be serious. Are you fucking kidding me? You're not being serious right now?
It is really funny how you can switch and do both with me. Like,
oh yeah,
you're too serious. You're too serious. Why are you being so serious? And then it's like, you're not being serious. How can we get through this life if you're not being serious? And I'm like, wait, you've trained me to treat life like a playground. I'm treating it like a playground, and now I'm not.
Trained you. I don't even treat it like a fucking playground. I do when I'm at my best, but yeah.
I'm joking around. You're the best. I love you so much.
We have a good time. That much I know is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think keeps you coming back for more. It's a good time overall.
Yeah, this blank canvas is fun to dance around on.
Yeah. Yeah. And fucking every year is another brushstroke, and just have fun with it. And, that's the whole thing. If I hold those as the highest ideals, my life takes that path. If I hold productivity and fucking all the struggles of capitalism, my life takes that path. And yeah, it's hard because I have been good at the capitalist grind. I have been good at the monopoly game. So I'll sometimes beat myself up when I feel like I'm not being as good at it. But what I have to do is just realize like, oh, you just got to find another set of motivations to be good in that game.
Well, we were just reminding ourselves the other morning what our motivations are. And we're like, our motivation is to be artists. Our motivation is to get paid to make art. We are in all ways on trajectory for that to happen.
Yeah.
Why would we judge where we're at in this moment? Like, that is the trajectory. Our dreams are literally coming true before our eyes. Like,
yeah.
Would we doubt it and jump off the track that we can so clearly see has been a dream and a prayer that we've made? And we didn't make the prayer like, oh, make us rich and famous. We made the prayer of like, allow us to be artists.
Yeah.
And that's happening.
Yeah.
And it continues to happen. And we're carving out the pathways for us to be financially stable based on art that we create.
Mm.
And we can't expect it to happen overnight, but it's happening,
Yeah.
And sowing those good seeds, I don't know, it seems to be paying off, and it encourages me to like continue to show up, because like this is the chance. Like
Yeah.
there is no plan B. This is what we were saying to each other the other day. We're like,
Yeah.
we're in it.
Yeah.
And I think it just
We
gave
really
us such a kick in the ass, not out of fear, but out of love.
Mm.
We kicked ourselves in the ass and said, we love our life. We love the direction it's going. Let's just show up and support the life that we have with our full engagement and attention, rather than like, oh, we suck and we're doing things bad and we're not on the right track. It's like, no, we're exactly where we want to be. To give any judgments about where we are would be to not zoom out and see that like it's happening. And
that's the ultimate sacrament of the Church of Chill. That's our communion, is self-forgiveness and gratitude. Because once we brought that online, and it's easier with two people, because when it's all just an internal conversation, it's really hard to suss out and land on something positive, I think, at least for me. But with two people, you have someone that can remind you, and we have three people, someone that can remind you of self-forgiveness and gratitude and just perspective on the whole thing. Like, hey, take a breath. Let's relax. Let's realize how lucky we are, how privileged we are that we even get to call ourselves artists,
Yeah, my mom was saying the other day, and this is where having support from a family is so really grateful for, but she's like, I'm so glad you're just like, don't show up in a suit and like act like a lawyer and like don't like have some high powered thing. Like if you guys were taking your life so seriously, I would feel like I had to take my life more seriously. And like I really like that you guys don't take life too seriously. It allows us to have a lot more fun together. She came over for Thanksgiving and we just had a great time, and I think she
took some acid, took some edibles.
Yeah, she took acid at 5 p.m. I was like, Jesus, Mom. I was like,
she learned from the best.
I would never do that.
We've done that.
Well, I would, but she like has that superpower where she can sleep no matter what. But yeah. No, it's really fun.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other night when we've been watching. We've only seen 2 parts of the 4-part Shaquille O'Neal documentary.
The 2 that are out.
Yeah, there's only 2 have been released so far. But we're such suckers for all this. Anything that comes out that's like a big name musician or sports figure, even if we know nothing about them, it's like we have to watch it because we love documentaries. We love great stories. And I just love like put a bow on it. This person's career, they did their career. Now let's talk about it. Let's talk about their motivations. Let's talk about how they were able to do this. Shaquille O'Neal barely was on his high school team. Like everyone thought he sucked. Everyone just thought like this was this phenom, this 7'1" huge beast of a man that just he couldn't make it work on the court.
Well, it's painful for him. It was painful. Like his joints and stuff would hurt from running like down the court, like to carry that much weight and muscle on.
320 pounds, 7'1".
Yeah, so he had a really hard time, like...
Yeah. Well, because all these expectations are on you when you're that big. And then you have to develop the skills around it. And then, so what got me thinking, though, is, and this comes up in all these fucking documentaries about the greats, is what motivated him, what produced his best games, what really was, what was the secret sauce in the cauldron that produced somebody like Shaquille O'Neal, who won like 5 championships, multiple MVPs, All-Star games, Finals MVPs, all that's every accolade you could have in the NBA, he got it. What produced that? Anger. What was he motivated by? He needed to, and he talks about this, how he would contrive things to get his anger online so he could play better. And that's what Michael Jordan did. And I bet you if you asked any elite athlete, that's what they did. The people, and I bet you could go outside of sports and it applies. It's just what capitalism does. It's if you want to be good at it, you have to be a fucking dominator. You have to get those masculine qualities online. And a lot of times it's driven by anger. And it's driven by resentment, and it's driven by a scarcity mindset. And that's what made the greats the greats. And apply it across the board to CEOs, apply it to anyone that we fucking know that's been successful at this game. A lot of times that's what it's fucking driven by. And I just don't think it's good for us. It's not good for your soul. Like it's glorious when you get to see it applied to like an athletic career and be
Right.
like, wow, you went out there and fucking dominated. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's fun to watch and everything, but being that person probably wouldn't have been that fun at the time, you know. He didn't get to enjoy his championships. He
Because it was ready for the next one.
he won his first championship and he was like, I'm gonna put this trophy up and I'm gonna fucking add to it. And his dad just said, give me that fucking thing. Go get another one. It's cold. It's harsh, but I see why it works.
Oh yeah, because you're not in your house looking at your trophy all the time, like with your feet
Yeah,
up.
yeah, exactly.
You're like, oh, I need another trophy.
Yeah.
Like this is my job. This is my mission.
What I'm saying is overall the prevailing mentality that it produces isn't going to lead to our salvation as a species. You know, it's just not. It's just you know, it's not going to solve any of our problems. I think it's gonna make them go a little bit deeper. And you know, this is this the whole thing about, you know, great humblings and reckonings in your life is if you don't have space to apply, you know, those lessons, they get worse. They kind of get compounded in the shadow realm, and I think we're dealing with a huge collective shadow right now that we're not willing to take a look at. And like something like fucking COVID comes along, and it's like, okay, here's the great humbling, here's the reckoning. Let's get on the same page, and it just splinters us even more because we're just stuck in that competition mindset, the paranoid mindset that capitalism produces. I've talked about this ad nauseum, but it's just interesting when it comes up like in a sports documentary, and you're like, wow, that's such an allegory for like society at large. It's kind of wild. It's like we poison ourselves with the scarcity mindset, and like we kind of have to succeed on any kind of level. It's wild.
Yeah, it's very powerful fuel.
Yeah.
So it probably made you like I don't. I think there's times that I've like pushed off of like whether it's my mom or anyone, but
I've had people like, and look, I'm grateful for them now, but people fuck with my livelihood and my career and talk shit about me and talk shit about my projects, talk shit about my trajectory, talk shit about my motivations. Like this, I'm talking like a handful of people, but yeah, I've used them the way Shaquille O'Neal does, the way Michael Jordan does. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. You think that? I'll show you. You know, and it probably was part of the motivator to get some of our projects done. And then like collaborators who've been flaky or unappreciative of my talents, I'm like, okay, fuck you. I'll show you on the next one. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I'm gonna fucking keep it going. And it wasn't the healthiest mindset because like I don't know if you remember how we were back in like 2012, 2013. What was the main catchphrase in our life?
fuck everyone.
Fuck everyone. Eat shit.
Eat shit. Fuck everybody.
And we were down with that. Our whole group of friends was down with that. That's what we were. We thought it was the funniest thing ever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you got out and made shirts that said you took a bleach and wrote "eat shit" on shirts. I never wore that shirt because I was like, I'm not gonna wear a "eat shit" shirt.
yeah. But it was driven by that. I mean, it was driven by like, this is hilarious, but at the same time, like that was the prayer I had in my life, was just like, yo, fuck everyone. I'm going to get mine. I'm going to get my career, my money, my life, my comfort. I'm going for it. I don't give a fuck. The dominator personality. And it's like, it so wasn't me that mushrooms needed to come along and show me who I really was.
Well, I liked. There was one thing that I thought was really on point about what Shaquille was saying was that, to get the championship, it wasn't gonna get handed to them. They had to take it.
Yeah, championships don't get handed to you.
And that was really interesting because even at that level, they could be under this impression like, oh, we're the best team. Like, we're going to get handed a championship. And they had
We're the most talented, and everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Who cares?
They had to really.
I'd be more scared of the people that haven't been told they're super talented and they're fucking hungry.
Yeah.
They're hungry for it, and they've been training. They're not sitting there with their feet up saying, oh, look at my MVP trophy. Look at this. I'm more scared of those motherfuckers.
The underdogs.
Yeah, yeah. So that's more the position we've tried to align ourselves with, is like, and I learned this early on. I remember before I had made one maybe two films, and I was doing a project for Sundance Channel called Meet the Filmmakers, where I got to go around and interview like 20. I made like little short pieces about like 20 of the filmmakers that were in Sundance.
They were great.
They were great, and I got to talk to Joel Schumacher, who had a film out at the time. I can't even remember the name of the film, but he made Batman Returns, and he's made big movies. He made The Lost Boys, big movies. Like, he was a big Hollywood star, and he's an older guy at this point. And I was just like, what advice would you have for young filmmakers? And he was like, that Hollywood isn't looking for you. They don't care. They're not thinking about you. They're not looking for you. You got to go get their attention. Like, their help is not on the way. And I think that's a great way to go through. That was such good advice. That was profound to the point where I still remember it, and I still quote that.
You said it to me all the time. You were just like, they're not waiting for us. No one's waiting for us. No one's looking for us. Like,
no, it doesn't matter what our last success was. It doesn't matter how many people passed around our last film and how many fucking articles we were in and people fucking bestowing us the next kings of documentary. It doesn't fucking matter. They're really not looking for you. They don't care. It's an industry. It's cold. It's unforgiving. It's run by a fucking algorithm. Make your art. Make it noticeable. Get better at making art.
Especially if that's what you want to do, is make art.
Yeah.
You got to remind yourself, like, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
Wait, why do I think it's important? What is important to me about being a human?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are good questions that I appreciate asking myself because I find it very clarifying. But that reminds me of when I asked Kurt. I was doing like a little interview when we were doing that music video. Kurt Vile, yeah. And I asked him, like, what advice would you have for young musicians, And he's like, I used to tell people to, like, have something physical, but now, he's like, now it's really, like, you should be making art regardless of who's helping you. Mm-hmm. Because the people who want to help you make art want to help the people who'd be making art whether or not they helped you.
Exactly.
Well,
that's why, like when you're in the business world, like, you can't have gaps on your resume. I would say the same thing about your artistic output. Mm-hmm. At least for us, that's the standard I hold myself to. Like, that's like, I don't want big gaps in our filmography. I don't want, like, what were you guys doing the last 8 years? I don't want it to be like that. Yeah, I want to stay creatively invigorated, which is why we do this podcast. Honestly, that was the original reason we started doing the podcast. Is like, how do we stay creatively engaged and invigorated between films? And we were only making like one a year at the time, so it helped us a lot fill the gap and just keep the fires burning.
Well, you like this blank canvas where you like to see what happens in a moment if you just allow it to unfold and set the time and the space to do it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Do you? Have you grown to love it?
I've grown to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
You were a little scaredy cat at first.
Yeah, and I'm still probably not as, like, devoted as you are in some ways, Not, like, where I, like, every once in a while I'll be like, I'll talk to you about the podcast and be like, and you have such a fire about how important it is that I just trust that.
Well, all I have to do is just look at our life and be like, how do we know everyone we know?
Yeah.
Who are all of our friends? How did we find those people? How did they find us? How did we end up making those connections? Like, that's all it comes down to for me. It's like, this is an investment. Every time we put out one of these things, you never know who the fuck's going to hear it or resonate with something. And, it's helped our life so much beyond the creative practice and chasing the muse.
Working it out.
Yeah.
Like, we've worked out a lot of stuff publicly, but it's also, like, allowed for inspired conversations privately.
Yeah.
Like, oh, why'd you bring that up on the podcast? Or what is this about? Like, I think it's so funny, we're however many years deep, 11 years deep into living together.
Yeah.
And we still are learning how to be better communicators with each other and learning, like, that communication is important and at times uncomfortable, or at times you're not going to get the response you want.
Yeah.
But it's still important to, like, move the conversation forward, or I don't know.
No, you do know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's helped us not stagnate. That's part of the, like, because I try to not repeat myself on here.
Which is close to impossible.
It's close to impossible. We've done so many of these, and, like, I don't know how many. This is like episode 285 plus all the like there's like 50 or 75 of these episodes that are only on Patreon.
I feel like we're always saying the same thing, just with different words. Like that's what
Yeah.
life is. Like life is actually this
Yeah.
big symphony of the same song.
Yeah.
So
But it helps me not cling to any idea and start making some mask out of it that I want to hang my identity on. You know what I mean by that? I hear myself say something and I'm in its infancy stage. A lot of times we come on here and we're saying stuff that like we haven't talked about before at all. So it helps me not stagnate in my way of thinking. So it feels like making the bed and cleaning the room. Like I can't do anything until I've made the bed and cleaned the room and vacuumed and everything. This feels like the thought processing equivalent to that. Like, hey, let's clean everything up. Let's make sure that no thoughts are getting too sticky and solidified, and we have a good sense of what our destiny is, and let's just work out anything we need to work out and just get it out of our systems.
totally. No, there's like a purging process that definitely happens.
Mm.
And then you kind of like have to sit with, oh, I said that didn't come off great. I don't want to come off like that. I don't really want to be like that.
Yeah.
It kind of like there's like something so haunting about this process.
Oh, yeah.
And that I've come to kind of like appreciate the discomfort of it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if I'm not reeling after we record it, maybe I didn't go far enough.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, it also just helps you not care because I avoid the temptation of ever like deleting an old episode or let's edit this out or anything like that. I don't do that, you know.
it is what it is.
Yeah, but it also just helps you forgive and accept who you are and who you were in that moment. And cool, that podcast was just another diary entry of who I was in that moment. It's just another reflection of who I was, and I love that motherfucker.
It also feels like we're part of this period in time where podcast is such a popular medium. It's not even like a unique medium that we're doing. It's like we are just like part of this moment in time where podcasts have a heyday of people having podcasts, of people doing podcasts, of people expressing themselves, for people setting their space, for people sharing conversations. All this stuff is like, oh, we're kind of like part of this wave. And that's just kind of fun, And at times I was like, oh, are we stupid for doing this? Or, because I would hear people in the park being like, and he's on the podcast and this podcast. And I was like, ugh, cringe.
I know.
And then I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. We're part of it. It's probably like similar to the feeling like bands had like in the 60s, in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, the Beatles came along and blew this thing wide open for like this medium to just be so relevant in people's lives and in culture, and then all these bands came along and probably like most of them are just lost in the dustbin of history.
Right.
And probably at the time there was a lot of self-doubt, but then there's like the ones we still talk about.
Totally.
We're going to see a documentary about Neil Young tonight.
Very excited.
Hell yeah. One night only in the theaters, harvest time. I cannot fucking wait. But it's probably a similar type of thing. They were carving out a new space and making rock and roll music the most relevant thing for people to listen to and consume at the time. And I feel like
in a way to express.
In a way to express, yeah. And while I do think music is more important, I do think podcasts probably have taken over as like the thing people listen to over music or anything else. I think
like hours logged.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, the amount of time you would spend listening to podcasts compared to music, probably most people of a certain age listen to way more podcast minutes than music minutes.
Do you think you do?
Wow. I wasn't a big podcast consumer until like the last year and a half when I found Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast and Tuesdays with Stories. So if you looked at my numbers for them, it probably would rival how much I listen to the Grateful Dead. And that's crazy. I'm as big of a music fan as you can be.
And these two boys.
And these boys. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in a way, it feels good to be part of that, to be part of just the river of art and just, being a few droplets going down the river of art and just adding our contribution and doing our best. And, I think what we say is probably very relevant to the people that are still listening to us.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what's going on our Discord and other things we have coming up?
Why don't you try?
Okay. If you're on our Patreon and our Discord, awesome. We love you, and want to just say we're doing an end of year art exchange, which we've done. This will be our second or third one at this point.
Yeah. Tell her what the art exchange is. It's like a secret Santa for art.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think a lot of holiday cards go around this time of year. So it's an opportunity for you to send some art to someone in the community. Some people go all out, have gone all out in the past, but I really just want to encourage people to not get intimidated by
It could be whatever.
the ask. Like, I think
it's the thought that counts.
The most perfect thing would be for you to designate half an hour to an hour and sit down and draw or doodle something with a little art blessing. Like, the idea is to send an art blessing to someone else that you
Something
don't know.
that's going to brighten up someone's space.
Yeah, especially as the days are longest. I think it's just, and it encourages us to create. Like, I sometimes every year I'm like, oh, this is, because anytime I go to sit down to paint, I'm like, this is so hard.
Yeah.
Why did I decide that this was a good idea? But it's always so rewarding, and so to set the space to try to do that is really good. We also book club on the Discord. We're doing a Neil Gaiman book, The End of the Ocean. I don't remember the title of it. I have to read it still, so I'm sorry. But check that out. Doing art groups pretty much every Sunday where we just get together and chill and make art.
Yeah, everyone gets on video, and it's basically, it seems like kind of like a live podcast. You guys have music playing, and you just have a conversation, and everyone just makes some art together.
Yeah, we just talk about our recent inspiration, what's going on. Just, it's like a cool place to chill.
Good way to find friends. The Discord's a great way to find friends.
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I talked to some people the other day about it, and I think I'm going to do a monthly kind of encouragement group, accountability group, something of that nature around the full moon, which for most of the year next year is going to fall like in the 5th or 6th, 7th of the month until like August, then it switches. But what I have done, like women's groups, and this isn't a women's group, but this is just a group where, and I've benefited in the past where it's like you get together and you tell people like what your goal is for the month, is in the context I had done it, but basically it's like, what can you share that you can pat yourself on the back about this month? What are you happy that you accomplished? And it's a way to set space for congratulating yourself and bragging and saying, I did this and I'm happy I did this. Because I think when you have that space, then you can think through the month like, oh, I can't wait to share this with my friends that I did this thing that I've been meaning to do, or I moved this forward. So kind of wanting to set the space of like, what have you done recently that you're proud of in the last month? What do you need support in, whether that's us co-imagining with you or giving actual practical advice or whatever it is that you, or just wanting to hear yourself say to the universe, I need support in this department to move this project forward. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'm going to do that.
Cool.
And I feel like there's some other things. We're getting Mare, the shirt that Mare designed, printed.
Oh, yeah. We have new shirts coming out. They're incredible.
They're going to be really good.
Yeah.
The design is incredibly epic. So we'll have that soon. And I just want to say here, which I think is okay to say, if you need any sort of goodie, I know that the holidays is a good time to share goodies with family or friends who may not have access to certain types of goodies. And I'm thinking in like a microdosing capacity. Supplies.
Medicine.
Yeah. We know of someone who can really help you with a safe source.
Yeah.
For that stuff.
Whatever it is.
So if you're looking for this time of year to give the gift of an experience,
we have permission to hand off a contact to you.
Yes.
So that's actually very powerful. And all that can be done through patreon.com/churchofchill. And the thing I'm most proud of on there is all the podcasts we've put on there. So we get real loose and wild on there. And we have an archive of past podcast video and audio We have over 150 episodes of our psychedelic radio show, Church of Chill.
Yeah.
And the Sacred Boys Club podcast. It's the only place you can hear it. Is Church of Chill, or is patreon.com/Church of Chill. Me and Joey's secret podcast.
Joey's
Boys
coming
Club.
to town next week, so there will be a new one, I'm sure, soon.
Joey's coming to town in a couple days, and we're gonna start editing our film Wooks. And it just means the world to us. Obviously, our Patreon isn't about the money, because it's pay what you want. But it really means the world to us when I see people supporting us. It really does.
Well, yeah,
it affects my mood because it just shows like, wow, you went out of your way to like sign up for this thing, and you get more than what it's worth when you're on there. But it means a lot to me personally when I see people pop up there, and
everyone who has supported and been so generous, it's like
it means everything to us.
Makes our world. And if you like hanging out with us for an hour every 10 days or whatever we put them out, it helps keep us doing it because it feels.
That's what I was gonna say, but I didn't want to seem like lame. But
why is that lame?
That's part of what keeps us doing it. It's like, oh, okay, these people care enough, you know. They signed up for our thing. Let's fucking give them something, you know.
Yeah, this is our job.
Yeah.
This is our job.
They took our jobs. All right, cool. Well, this was really fun. Thank you for suggesting it and making this beautiful thing. And the lava lamp really cooperated for us. If you're
Around
watching
halfway
us
through,
on
it kind
YouTube.
of came into full effect.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, totally. Cool. This was awesome. Even the half hour that we didn't record, that we thought we were recording, was awesome. I love chilling with you.
Always.
Yeah. Peace, love, and magic, y'all.